Hey friends, if you're around 62 and starting to think seriously about retiring, it's worth pausing for a moment because the Social Security payment you could see in 2026 may not be exactly what you're expecting. The rules are shifting, and a lot of people in your age group haven't yet realized how these updates might influence the amount they receive each month. Whether you've been planning this step for a long time or you're just now considering early retirement, getting a clear handle on the actual numbers can be the difference between feeling relaxed and feeling anxious about money in your later years. In this video, we'll walk through the key points you need to understand, from how the latest cost of living adjustments work to some lesser-known approaches that may help increase your benefit even if you decide to file early. And we'll also go over common missteps that can unintentionally reduce your payments and how you might avoid them. My aim is that by the end, you'll have a much clearer idea of what your 2026 Social Security check could look like and some practical ways to help you get the most from what you've earned over the years. Because this is really about peace of mind and protecting your future, not just about numbers on a page. If you're serious about taking charge of your retirement income and making thoughtful choices about 2026, tapping that like button now is a simple way to show you care about your financial stability and to help other seniors find this kind of information. Reaching 62 and thinking about leaving the workforce can feel both exciting and a bit unsettling. You've put in decades of effort, paid into the system, and now you're finally in a position to think about stepping back, enjoying more free time, and doing things you've been putting off. But retirement is about more than simply not going to work. It's about making sure your income, your sense of security, and your day-to-day lifestyle line up so you're not constantly worrying about bills or feeling like you have to cut back on basic comfort. Social Security is a major part of that equation. You've probably heard bits and pieces about changes coming in 2026, headlines about COLA, new rules, or how early retirement might affect your benefit, but a lot of that information is presented in a way that's easy to misunderstand. Even those who follow Social Security closely often end up asking, what will my actual payment be, and when is the right time to file for me? That's why we're breaking this down today. By the time you're done watching, you should have a practical sense of what your 2026 benefit might look like and what you can do to try to make the most of it. First, let's quickly get on the same page about what Social Security is, a federal program designed to provide income when you retire, if you become disabled, or for a surviving spouse or dependents. Most of us think of it mainly as retirement income, and that's okay, but it's really a safety net for your later years, intended to help keep you financially steady. Because it's based on your work history and earnings, and because your starting age affects your benefit, timing matters a lot, and this is where many people stumble, especially at 62. That age is the earliest point you're allowed to begin collecting retirement benefits, which can sound very appealing. You're finally eligible. You've reached the starting gate. Family or friends may even encourage you to file as soon as you can. But here's what a lot of people don't fully realize. If you start drawing Social Security at 62, you lock in a reduced benefit for life. That reduction doesn't automatically disappear as you age. Aside from any inflation-related increases, your starting point remains lower. So if you're thinking, I'll just take it now and it probably won't make much difference, that assumption can turn into an expensive choice. Many seniors are surprised by how big a difference waiting can make. If you hold off until your full retirement age, usually 66 or 67, depending on your birth year, your monthly payment is higher, and postponing further, up to age 70, can raise it even more through delayed retirement credits. That's why it's so important to plan. Social Security isn't just about getting some money. It's about getting as much appropriate income as possible at the time that best supports the way you want to live. At the same time, it's completely valid if some of you are saying, I need the income now, I can't afford to wait. Everyone's circumstances are unique. You might be dealing with health issues, supporting family, or simply wanting to enjoy more free years without the pressures of work. Those can all be sensible reasons to file earlier. The crucial thing is to understand what you're trading away when you do, because that's something you can measure. For example, claiming at 62 instead of waiting until full retirement age can mean a permanent reduction of roughly 25 to 30% in your monthly benefit, which is not a small cut. It's enough to impact your everyday spending, how you handle healthcare costs, and the plans you're able to make. And speaking of healthcare, don't forget the connection to Medicare. Many people think of Social Security and Medicare as totally separate, but the timing of when you start one can influence the other. Beginning Social Security can trigger Medicare enrollment, and your timing can affect both your premiums and your coverage choices. In some cases, delaying Social Security can help you coordinate Medicare more strategically and potentially reduce what you pay over time. These are the kinds of details that make retirement decisions more complicated, but they also make careful planning very worthwhile. Looking specifically at 2026, one key factor is the cost of living adjustment, or COLA, which is meant to keep your benefit closer to rising prices. In recent years, COLA values have been higher than average because of inflation, which is helpful for retirees. But if you've already locked in a reduced benefit by claiming early, even with future COLA increases, you may not gain as much overall as someone who waited and started with a higher base amount. Another area to be aware of is the earnings limit for those who claim before full retirement age, but continue to work. If your earnings go over a set threshold, Social Security temporarily withholds part of your benefit, which can be a nasty surprise if you weren't expecting it. Knowing these rules ahead of time lets you plan your work hours and income, so you're not caught off guard by a suddenly smaller check. This is where strategy comes in. Social Security isn't just something that happens to you. You have choices, and those choices can add up over time. For married couples, sometimes it can make sense for one spouse to claim earlier while the other delays, so that together they optimize their total benefits over their lifetimes. Others may decide to keep working part-time, but watch their earnings to avoid crossing the reduction threshold while still improving their overall financial picture. These strategies don't have to be complicated. They mostly require understanding the basics and thinking ahead. Your health and family history are also important to factor in. If you're in good health and your relatives tend to live into their late 80s or 90s, delaying benefits can often mean more income over your lifetime. On the other hand, if your health is uncertain or you need the income immediately for practical reasons, starting at 62 can be the right call for you. The key is striking a balance between your current needs and your future security. Many people in their early 60s also worry about running out of money or not having enough to handle emergency costs. That's why having a clear view of your Social Security options and any other retirement income you have, pensions, savings, part-time work, is so important. With a plan, you're not left wondering if your check will cover basic expenses each month. You can set a realistic budget, know what's coming in, and let retirement be a stage of life where you're more free, not more stressed. Once you really understand how your benefit works and what your options are, it can feel like a weight has been lifted. Inflation is another big piece of the puzzle. Even though COLA exists to help, things like housing, medical care, and everyday necessities don't all move in lockstep with Social Security increases. Some retirees address this by supplementing their benefits with personal savings, pensions, or side income, while others find that making changes like downsizing a home or trimming non-essential spending stretches their money farther. Whatever your specific approach, being proactive, making decisions now rather than reacting later, is one of the best ways to keep retirement as low stress as possible. To illustrate, think about a hypothetical couple, call them Linda and George, who both decided to file for Social Security at 62 without fully understanding the consequences. At first, they were pleased to see money coming in sooner. But after a few months, they realized their checks were noticeably smaller than what they had assumed and started to worry they'd made a mistake they couldn't undo. When they eventually reviewed their situation and ran some numbers, they discovered that if George had delayed his claim for just a few years, their combined monthly income could have been substantially higher, enough to cover surprise medical expenses and even pay for a modest trip they'd been dreaming about. The main lesson is straightforward. Knowledge really is power. By learning the rules, thinking about timing, and exploring your choices, you can reduce financial stress and enjoy retirement more. So if you're around 62 and thinking seriously about stepping away from work, what can you do right now? First, don't panic and don't rush your decision. Gather your Social Security statements, confirm your earnings record is accurate, and look at your estimated benefits at different starting ages. There are online tools from the Social Security Administration that can help you do this, and it can be very helpful to speak with a qualified financial professional who understands Social Security. The difference between a decision made quickly and one made after careful thought can easily add up to hundreds of dollars a month or tens of thousands of dollars over your retirement years. Another step many seniors overlook is staying up to date on new developments. Social Security rules and thresholds can change, and staying informed helps you avoid missed opportunities or unexpected problems. Signing up for official updates, watching reliable channels, and reading notices from the SSA can keep you ahead of the curve. Always remember that your benefit isn't just a number. It represents your security, your independence, and your peace of mind, and it deserves your attention. As we bring this discussion toward a close, it's worth emphasizing that retirement is a long journey, not a single moment. Deciding when to claim Social Security is only one part of the larger picture, but it's a very important part, and making a thoughtful choice can have a big effect on your quality of life. Whether you file at 62, wait until full retirement age, or push it out to 70, your decision should be guided by your finances, your health, and your personal goals. When you take the time to think this through, you give yourself a better chance of having Social Security work in support of your plans instead of feeling like you're being boxed in by it. So keep this in mind. Your 2026 Social Security payment may be different from what you imagine today, but with the right information and planning, that difference can be in your favor. Take charge, learn about your choices, and try to align your decisions with the kind of life you want to live. And if this video has helped you see your options more clearly, don't forget to hit that like button. Doing so not only supports this channel, it also helps other seniors find this information so they can strengthen their own financial futures. You've worked hard to reach this point in your life. Now it's time to make the most of it with confidence, care, and peace of mind.